Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our business meeting. It is December 23rd, 2024. The time is 2 p.m. In attendance are Commissioners Brooks, Matari, and Duncan. Please join us in a moment of silence. All right, thank you. And Mr. Harris, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Somebody purloined my flag.
Oh, no.
I don't.
Oh, Dave, can I
Dave's got it.
grab the flag? Somehow it migrated.
Yes, I noticed.
There you go.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, are there changes to the agenda?
I think you want to take item 17 and make it item, or put it before 6.
Yes, yep, so we'll do that. And with nothing else, I will go ahead and take public comment before we get started on our business items. And if there are people who would like to make comment prior to our meeting, then you can just come up to the podium.
What are the rules?
So we'll give about 3 minutes since we have quite a lot of people today.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ron Hartman for the record. This is with regard to the license plate readers. I attended both the November 19th town hall chaired by Commissioner Duncan. I also attended the December 17th town hall chaired by Commissioner Matari. After listening to everyone, including the gentleman from Motorola, I support Sheriff Norris's request for the Motorola ALPR software contract. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right. And you can just wait behind. Yeah. So,
We good?
yes.
Hi, I'm Don Cameron. Thank you for letting me speak. This is comments directed to Sheriff Norris. We don't want license plate readers. I didn't come to North Idaho for that. If you got probable cause, pull me over. But we don't need warrantless surveillance in this town, more than we already have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Deb Vernon, and I do support the readers. I did a little research on ChatGPT, and this is what I found. Here's the concerning statistics. Less than 18% of property crimes are solved nationwide. Why? Because law enforcement often lacks the leads needed to track down evidence. However, here's an encouraging fact. Nearly 70% of crimes involve a vehicle. License plates, as public information, provide critical clues that can turn investigations around. According to a recent RAND report, 70% of U.S. police departments already use license plate readers. Many plan to expand this. As a transformative technology, license plate readers allow law enforcement to identify vehicles, generate leads, and capture evidence necessary to solve crimes. One reader can scan up to 900 license plates per minute, providing unmatched efficiency. For years, local enforcement agencies have faced staffing shortages. These readers serve as a force multiplier. Let me repeat, force multiplier, enabling one officer to conduct the investigative work of dozens. Readers operate 24/7, without cost, without salaries, without patrol cars. Key advantages include automated monitoring. Such continuous surveillance reduces the need for labor-intensive manual efforts. It streamlines investigations. License plate readers quickly identify suspect vehicles, reduces time to solve crimes, and creates evidence for successful prosecutions. They are cost-effective. This technology helps law enforcement do more with fewer sources, optimizing budgets and personnel. It deters crime. Readers send a clear message to criminals. If you come to Kootenai County to commit crimes, you will get caught. License plate readers are vital for both public and officer safety. They alert officers when vehicles associated with criminal activity are nearby, allowing them to take necessary action. These systems have been instrumental in solving a wide range of cases, from Amber Alert to violent crimes, and especially recovering stolen vehicles. Samples include Cobb County, Georgia, where they reduced crime by 60% with these readers. New York City achieved a 31% increase in grand larceny auto arrest within the first quarter of 2011. I just have 2 more paragraphs. Sacramento, California helped the city drop from 6th to 13th in the nation rankings for auto theft per capita. Some worry that license plate readers invade privacy. However, the reality is we live in a world where monitoring is already persuasive. Just driving to the Spokane airport, multiple license plate readers identify you. Instead of rejecting license plate readers, we should implement ethical guardrails to ensure responsible use. In conclusion, Kootenai County risks falling behind by not adopting this proven strategy. Failure to act limits our ability to fight crime and serves as a disservice to residents. Adopting this technology is strategic investment in public safety. It greatly bolsters law enforcement capabilities, it maximizes resource efficiency, and offsets the personnel shortages. Kootenai County has the opportunity to be a regional leader by implementing this modern crime-fighting tool. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next.
Hi, my name is Dennis Dodd, and I live in Kootenai County. I'm up here to talk about the license plate readers also. I'm a 33-year law enforcement officer. I retired from Arizona after 33 years. My last assignment was with Arizona CART. It's the Child Abduction Response Team. And my squad responded anywhere in the state of Arizona where a child was abducted. As I was either flying or driving to those locations, I was saying a secret prayer that that agency would have license plate readers, because it's such a godsend to law enforcement. And in saying that, I was on the ground floor of license plate readers in the early 90s. I was dead set against them. I was dead set against photo radar. I'm an advocate of public's need for privacy, even as a police officer. But these don't invade your privacy. Nowadays, I could pay $1.99 and find out everything about you on the internet. And your kids' names, your kids' dates of birth, your social security numbers. We don't have any privacy like we did in the old days. But these license plate readers, with the standard operating procedures and the general orders that the sheriff's department will adhere to and enforce, keep everyone safe from abuse. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Manuel Scruggs, and I'm a citizen of Kootenai County, and I have 30 years in law enforcement in LA County. As far as the license plate readers, I have benefited myself from having that information, and I've heard people in various forums say, well, I moved to Idaho because. It's not the Idaho of past. With the amount of illegal immigration and the new, not the old, but the new Tren de Aragua, they're in Washington and Montana. Guess what's in between? We are. So if we have license plate readers, and they pass through here with vehicles, we can tag those vehicles from one place to the other. And if law enforcement has a way to monitor that or track that and say, hey, he was here, that's a benefit to us. It offers security for our citizens and our law enforcement, our deputies, our police officers that are out there stopping people. And we don't know who's in the car. Guess what? Now we do. And we can take precautions. And we don't have to go to, and I've been to many law enforcement funerals, and it's not pleasant. And we need every tool we can to fight that. With anything new, anything old, we need the tools of today, not of yesterday. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is John Kunkel. I too am a Kootenai County resident and retired law enforcement officer of 30 years. I've personally used the license plate readers throughout California. I worked from Southern California to way up North California. I can't say much about what hasn't already been said. It's all true. I personally have used the readers, have retrieved stolen vehicles, have retrieved Amber Alert vehicles, possible kidnappings, and other criminals that had their vehicles tagged by the license reader. For those who claim a privacy issue, obviously there's not an understanding of the Fourth Amendment issue that doesn't even exist with private driver's or the license plates. That's why your car has two of them, one on each side, so the whole world can see your license plate. It's not a privacy issue. As far as the technology goes, I used this 20 years ago. It amazes me that it hasn't even hit this area yet, and we're acting like it's something new. If you don't understand the technology of how a license plate reader works, by God, look it up. This is nothing to be afraid of, and it's a wonderful tool for law enforcement. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Radliff, resident of Kootenai County and a retired 35-year law enforcement officer. And pretty much what everyone else said. So I will simply say that it is an outstanding tool for law enforcement. It is not a violation of anyone's privacy. That's been upheld in every single state Supreme Court that has heard any challenge to that. It's a 50-year-old technology, and it does not provide anything that's not readily available already through state databases for driver's licenses. And what it is simply an extra set of eyes for the deputies and the police officers in the cars, because they can simply look at a license plate and run it. All this does is that does it for them, so they don't have to take their eyes off the road, don't have to look at entering into a mobile computer or anything. It is simply an outstanding law enforcement tool that will catch crooks, bad guys, stolen vehicles, and it will do nothing to negatively impact the general citizenry other than get the crooks off the street. Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Eric Bruck. I'm not from California, but what I want to say to that is I appreciate you guys coming up talking about that. I actually am employed here at Kootenai County. I'm a Special Investigations Unit detective, and I want to tell you how I use this to our advantage to our citizens within our community. My current load right now is violent crimes and narcotics. What that entails is anyone that dies from fentanyl-related overdose usually comes to me and my team. We handle with drug sales from Spokane, also within our community. And what this does for the ALPR system itself is helps us hold accountable to individuals that say, no, I was never in Kootenai County at that time. Well, I'll call BS because I'll put it in the LPR and confirm that that individual, that vehicle, was on I-90 or whatever it may be. It doesn't take a photo of who's in the car. What it does, it takes a photo of that car with the make, the model, the color, and the license plate. It doesn't take your snapshot unless you have no tint or you're missing your windshield. You go to any house in the landings or anything in our community, there's doorbell camera system. You drive by on a public roadway, you're subject to CDC. You go to Walmart, you're gonna have cameras. You go to the casino, they have facial recognition at the casinos all around the US. You put a player's card in, guess what? That's public information. What we use this in our community is to help advantage all the citizens by holding the criminals accountable, putting hot plates, and what that means is individuals known to be violent criminals that access entrance to this community, we put that in the system. So when they come and they have warrants, they have sex offenses, they have failure to register, and they're in our city now, that is going to alert us. That doesn't give us probable cause to just stop a hot plate. Probable cause is totally different words what we're talking about here. I've used that way too much. This is not probable cause. You are not free of being traveled without your picture being taken somewhere. So what this is, I want to kind of capitalize this. I'm working a case right now, a young lady, 29 years old, overdosed from fentanyl. I was able to use the license plate readers to track her on I-90 the day of her death and live the last 36 hours that ended in Spokane where she purchased the drugs. Drugs came back, she died in our community. After the license plate readers were able to confirm her travels into Spokane, I got search warrants on the cell phones, and now I have a pretty good case that's going federal to hold 3 dealers in Spokane accountable. That's what it benefits. So I served our country. I spent time overseas. I served the community over 10 years. I wear stupid earrings and grow my hair out so I get good intel to help everybody in this city, in this community. I do it because I love everybody. This is not a battle to be fighting about. This is ridiculous. This thing infringes your rights. If you think this infringes your rights, don't go to the casino. Don't come out of your house. Wear a freaking mask. Don't travel because this is new world. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you guys having this on the docket. Usually I don't do public speaking because of my position, but this is near and dear to my heart, and also all the other officers that work in my capacity within this community to try to hold these people accountable so we can live in God's country in Kootenai County. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kenny Moore. I live in Kootenai County and a citizen here, and it sounds like this is a great thing. I want to give you one example, though. Less than a year ago, in fact, it's about 11 months ago to the date, we had a woman leave a meeting at 12 o'clock exactly. She was on Apple Way. She proceeded to Government Avenue. She was at a stoplight there about a minute or two. She proceeded to make a left-hand turn going north on 95 Highway. And within 1 minute before she got to the first red light, she had a text on her telephone. And it was from someone who said it was from her daughter, who said, I have a ransom note that says we have to provide $1,000 because you have been taken captive. It had a picture on the text. The picture was of the woman. You could see her in the front windshield of the car at Government Way. It had her license plate on it, and she got a text. Somehow they got all of her information and all the text off that picture, and the picture was forwarded to the mother. So she immediately got off and tried to call her daughter, finally got her daughter and got this thing squared away, but that happened within about 3 minutes. And it obviously, that information was made public to somebody somehow. There's a huge caution here. Be careful.
My name's Bill Green. I'm in Kootenai County, and I appreciate the opportunity to put in a couple words here and thank all you guys for your service. And there's a lot of opinions and ideas about these license plate readers and in technology, and I'm a big fan of law enforcement, work with law enforcement and mental health in Berkeley, California. And so the whole idea of giving them tools is really important to me. The one comment I would make about this is, according to the town hall I went to where the Motorola guy was here, he talked about the process where these license plate readers pick up a plate that's got some association with missing persons, stolen car, abducted children, warrant for arrest, something that gets the attention of this computer thing, and it gives them a chance to get a head start. But it also picks up all the other license plates. And so the question was always to me, what do they do with that, and how long do they keep it? So I'm thinking that one way to maybe address some of the concerns about privacy is that you have the contract specifically state, whoever does the contract with the company that sells the subscription, that watches the plates and puts it out there on the screens, how long can they keep that? I think that's up to the people who construct the contract. So I'm thinking one way you could allay some of these fear responsibilities is to say, we're only going to keep the data for a day or 2 days, some amount of time that lessens some of the concerns that people have about what will they do with this later on. So if you've got a stack of numbers that comes to the license plate reader, and 2 of them are of interest to law enforcement because they're associated with some act that's criminal or dangerous, then you got 10 others that are just random shots from the camera. So what do you do with that? Is there a way to explain that to people? Is there a way to limit how much it can be used or used at all? Is there a way to have checks so that none of the data is sold, as some people say it is, and other people say it isn't? Those are the types of things that you can put in the contract if the county wants to increase the amount of cameras that they have that has this capability. Things like that, I think, would go a long way to help people feel a bit better about assisting law enforcement, wanting them to have all the tools they can possibly have, but also trying to up the ante a little bit on protection of rights, which, of course, is a very difficult dilemma. Like when some of the officers said, you know, I came down here in my car and I said, my car's got a computer in every corner of it, I think. So it probably knows everywhere I go and what I maybe, but then they say the phone's on a microphone on your phone is listening to what you're saying. So who knows how many people know what I'm doing, or even if that's even true. But I'm just saying, though, that there are things you can do as the administrators if you release the money and say we're going to buy this. You can do it to lessen some of those anxieties. Like how long can you keep the data? I'd say don't keep it very long at all. I think right now it's a year, although I'm not sure. A week would be enough. A day would be enough. You know, how long do you need to keep it in order to look at it later on? And that's the question that I had is, what do they do with the plate numbers that are not associated with the bad act? So I'm just saying there are things you can do to do both. You can have the technology, but also do things that will help people feel a little bit less anxious about what they're doing with the technology and where it goes.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thanks.
Okay. There will be time for public comment afterwards is all, if there's no one else who wants to speak now. Okay. All right. With that, I would take, I guess there's no meeting minutes.
No meeting minutes.
So a consent calendar.
I move that we approve the consent calendar items 1 through 4.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. And payables.
I move that we approve payables for December 16 through 2024 in the amount of $697,718.56 and jury panel payments in the amount of $617.58.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, we'll skip ahead to item 17. And this is board approval request. This is a Justice Building change event number 79. It's regarding the fire assembly. And then, David, if you want to take a minute to give us an update as well, since we're missing our update this week. David Mendez, our owner's rep.
David Mendez with Turner & Townsend Heery. So I did produce the sheet that I've not given you for a little bit, so you've got an update there. I think going through this, what you're talking about are two items. So when you look at the change event number 79, I'm covering that. I've shifted some into design contingency, some in construction contingency. It's item 33 and item number 17. So I think the important thing to take from this, each time we talk, I'm down to 29% remaining in our design contingency fund. I'm sorry, the other way around. I've used 61% of my design contingency and 29% of my construction contingency. So that's the dollars we have left, is $343,000 for design contingency, and I've got $582,000 left in the construction contingency. So just tracking those numbers as we go along. The change event number 79, that is the item we've been addressing for about a month. We've been back and forth with between the city's requirements, code requirements, the architect and their design, and the contractor and their costs. We've negotiated this down. We were thinking it was somewhere between 150 and 200,000. The final number is 155,106. That total, if you look at the sheet that's in front of you that we're requesting your approval on, that total isn't on there, so it's 145, 410, and 9,696. Those two numbers add together for the 155. So that's what we're requesting for that. And again, when we talk about a change order, we've gone back through the specifications and the contractor's contract to ensure that we're not doubling up on payments here. So each one of those items, you can see that there's notations in red by me and the architect about credits that should have been included in that. They've added those credits into this number. Did you have any questions from that?
All right, questions on the update or the, what's being asked for approval today? Change event 79.
You're recommending it, right?
I am, and I just kind of categorizing this is filling a gap, it's a scope gap between what was designed and what we're being required to build. And I think this, to categorize this in general, is this comes from kind of a last minute requirement for the fireproofing of the building. Some of those details didn't get thought out properly, and so there's some gaps that we had, and a gap would be something like we've got a masonry containment area for prisoners that has to go up to the floor above, and we have structure that's in the way, and so we had to come up with a better way of fireproofing that portion of it. So we have to build around it, and those things were not included in their original consideration. So that's kind of in general. There's some elevator issues that we had not anticipated also that are a significant portion of those costs.
Okay. All right, motion?
Sounds like a yes to me.
That would be yes.
I move that we approve the request for the Justice Building Change Event number 79, Fire Assembly with the BOCC.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you for moving me up. Thank you.
You bet. All right, item 6. Well, actually, hang on. I want to, you're good, David. Thank you. I just wanted to reach out to anybody on the phone because I forgot to ask you if you had any public comment. And again, there'll be time for public comment at the end of our agenda. Okay, hearing none. Item 6. This is an agreement. It's for engineering services for our public safety building with HVAC, for HVAC replacement. The company is Van Boerum and Frank, Inc., and our building and grounds director, Voller, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jeff Voller for the record. I'm going to talk about items 6 and 7 because they're two separate proposals from VBFA, Van Boerum and Frank, but they just go by VBFA for short, so I'll refer to them as the VBFA, which you'll see in their proposal. This is follow-up for the HVAC improvements that we've been looking at for the Justice Building, the Public Safety Building, also known as the jail, and JJC. The proposals before you today, we asked them just at this point to give us proposals for the Justice Building and the jail. The reason for that being I'm not confident we have enough money in the budget to complete all three of them. And as we phase this design work, that'll give us a better idea of where we stand budget-wise. When we initially built these budgets, they were based off some very rough estimates from HVAC contractors, one of them being a couple years old as well, and I think we're probably a little under budget with the jail project specifically. So holding on designing that third building, I think will give us a little bit of flexibility in this. We could come back to that as we get some design. They will give us engineering opinions as we go through this process. So what you have for your approval today are the two proposals for the jail and the Justice Building. The current funds totally allocated for the three projects altogether total just a little over $1.3 million. The proposals for the design, so the proposals you're approving today are for the design and engineering so that we can know exactly what we're going to be putting into those buildings. And so there are some options that we'll consider through here. We'll look at some value options. We'll look at some different things to figure out how to get the most economical, but also the best systems that we can do for the county, and we'll bring those back to you for formal approval. So what you're approving today it's written as a base proposal from VBFA, And then they bring in consultants being structural and architectural engineers. Those are included as a not to exceed because we don't fully know their scope of work. And so we'll try to design them so that we don't fully maximize that not to exceed, but it gives us some flexibility to work within those proposals, and hopefully we can save the county some money as we go through that. We've estimated the reimbursables that would go in this, so you would be approving the full price that's in that the columns on your spreadsheet in the packet that we have for you. So with that, do you have any questions on this?
Any questions for Jeff?
No.
It'll be two separate motions.
You want to do 6 and 7
Yes,
together,
please.
but separately?
Yeah.
I move that we approve the agreement with Engineering Services, Public Safety Building, the jail HVAC replacement with VBFA, Van Boerum and Frank Inc., with Building and Grounds, and that we approve the agreement for engineering services, Justice Building HVAC replacement with VBFA, Van Boerum and Frank Inc., with Building and Grounds.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye, and this is from fund balance where we have put these projects in a separate category.
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, number 8, board approval request, and this is to pay an invoice for the jail pod plan review, City of Coeur d'Alene, and again, our Director Voller with Building and Grounds.
Okay, so the jail pod project is ready to move forward. The plans have been fully designed, and they've been submitted to the City of Coeur d'Alene for the first phase, which is still called the plan review. And this is the invoice to pay that fee. So while they've been submitted, the city will not move forward with that until we approve the invoice to pay for plan fees. This amount was included in our soft cost estimate. In fact, we allocated a little over $21,000, and this is $18,300. So it's about $3,000 less than we originally budgeted for that. The reason for that is the overall scope that we came in with was a little bit less than the amount that we were using when we were creating these budgets. So a little bit of savings there, and we request your approval for this invoice so we can keep this moving forward as quickly as possible.
All right, questions, motion?
I move that we approve the request for the invoice, to pay the invoice for the jail pod plan review with the City of Coeur d'Alene and Building and Grounds.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, thank you. Item 10, nope, we got one more. Goodness, Jeff, you are just all over this. Board approval request. This is a bid for ETCO Services LLC, and it's an upgrade to the domestic water heating system in the jail. So, again.
As we've been talking about the jail pod expansions and build out, we've mentioned a number of times the need to replace the water heaters in the jail. We thought about doing that as incorporating that into the contract with Sletton, and we talked about that a number of times as we were considering the Sletton contracts with that. We put it out for bid pursuant to Idaho code, and we sent it to 3 different companies. We received bids from 2 companies. ETCO Plumbing was the low bid on that, and we would actually recommend that we proceed with that right away and not do it under the Sletton contract, being that one of the 2 boilers is currently down right now at the jail, so they're really operating off of 1 boiler. And so their water heating systems are severely limited right now, and we would request approval for ETCO Plumbing to move forward right away. The cost for that project, as scoped out in the memo that you have, is $177,300. The funds would come from the jail 5-year plan. I've reviewed this with the finance director, and legal has reviewed this as well.
Okay, great. Questions, motion?
I move that we approve the bid request for the bid for ETCO Services LLC to upgrade the domestic water heating system with the jail and Building and Grounds.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, thank you. Item 10, this is a grant agreement C2273KC with Idaho, I'm always saying Idaho Department of Transportation, but it's Idaho Transportation Department. And this is amendment number 3 with our transit. And Ms. Combrick, are you on the line?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Doreen Combrick with the Transit Department for the record. This is just a performance period extension only, and it extends the award for this project through September 30th, 2025.
All right, questions?
Yeah, I'm just curious, this was originally from 2021. How come we haven't spent the money yet?
We had gone out for procurement on this a little over a year ago. I'm thinking maybe close to, don't quote me, a year and a half ago. And the pricing came back, and it was just not right for the project. But I do believe that we're wanting to go out to procure on this project this year. But at this point, it's just been a time thing, and we've just not had the resources and the time to work on it until now. So.
Okay, so you can work on it.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Motion?
I move that we approve grant agreement number C2273KC, Idaho Transportation Department, amendment number 3 with transit.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, thank you, Dorian. Item 11, this is termination of ground lease ALL 2014-500, county purchase of land, so search and rescue building. And Ms. Stevenson, are you on the line?
Yes, Commissioners, Kim Stevenson for the record. We are requesting termination of ground lease ALL 2014-500 for the sheriff. The county land purchase should be complete with this transaction, and so we're just requesting termination.
Okay, questions, motion.
I move that we approve the termination of ground lease ALL-2014-500. The county, due to the county purchasing their land with search and rescue and the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office and the airport.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, item 12, board approval request. This is a request for use of federal asset forfeiture funds, and it's with our Sheriff's Department and Detective Bates, please.
Yes, that's me, Commissioners. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. What we're requesting, this is the electronic surveillance gear, primarily for the use of the Kootenai County Special Investigations Unit. According to the memo that I sent you, the best technology we have right now is cellular, and it's only available when we have cell service. The primary function for these surveillance tools is to protect officer safety. The Special Investigations Unit is a covert unit by nature, but we also use confidential human sources, and we need to monitor ourselves and those people while these options are going on. The cell option we have now, when we lose cell service, we lose our current wire and have no way to monitor any situation and provide for safety of the officer or safety of the CI. These tools here are a non-cellular, more like a line of sight, and it gives us an extended range to monitor these operations to ensure our officers are safe, the community is safe, and our CIs are safe. And given that it's federal asset forfeiture funds, it's already sitting in an account, there would be no expense to the county, just funds that are already seized from bad guys and could be used to help fight the war on crime.
Okay, thank you. Questions, motion.
I move that we approve the request for the use of federal asset forfeiture funds for the Special Investigations Unit with the Sheriff's Office.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Thank you. All right, item
Thank
13.
you.
This is a board approval request. It's the purchase of the animal control vehicle with our Sheriff's Department. Lieutenant Klinkefus.
Yes, ma'am. Will Klinkefus, Sheriff's Office. As you said, we're asking to purchase the vehicle that was approved in the 25 fiscal year budget for animal control. As noted, this vehicle came in $2,632 higher than what was budgeted. I received quotes from all of the local dealers, and this quote was the one that was the closest to the requested budget amount. And so we're asking to move forward with the purchase of this vehicle.
All right, and then the additional funds will come from which budget?
Well, there were some savings from other vehicles we purchased, but I think that got put towards the Kootenai North move-in project. So we would most likely have to ask for fund balance, or we could wait towards the end of the year, and there may be some money left over in some of the lines for vehicle maintenance or vehicle repair.
Okay, and then will this, once this is purchased and outfitted, will you be able to trickle down the current vehicle to the treasurer's office?
Yes, ma'am. That is the plan. As soon as we can, this vehicle's on the lot, ready to be picked up. As soon as that's done and it's outfitted, that other vehicle will be immediately turned over to the treasurers.
Okay, great. Questions, and are you all right with waiting till further in the year?
For the purchase or for identifying where the funds will come from?
Identifying the
Yeah,
funds.
I don't think the vehicle will get any less, become less expensive. So we just need to figure out how to find some savings someplace else. I'm fine with it. Bill?
I think we need to get it.
Okay.
You say it will not get cheaper.
I move that we approve the request to purchase the animal control vehicle with the sheriff's office.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Item 14, board approval request, and this is for the purchase of a paint spray booth with the sheriff's maintenance office. And Manager Tom Reed.
Tom Reed, Sheriff's Maintenance. This is a request to move forward with the purchase of a paint spray booth for the Sheriff's Maintenance Shop. It was budgeted, and I ended up getting it a little cheaper than we originally budgeted for.
So that's about $3,000 right there.
There you go. All right, we didn't even have to wait that long.
We did not. So, Tom, I will let you and Lieutenant Klinkofuss duke that out. So, questions?
You bet.
Questions, motion.
I move that we approve the request to purchase the paint spray booth with the sheriff's office maintenance department.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 15, this is a contract for Taser 10s with Axon in our sheriff's jail. And Lieutenant Norris?
Lieutenant Nate Norris, and I'm just requesting that we move forward with the jail's contract with Axon Enterprise.
Push the button.
Sorry.
Lieutenant Nate Norris requesting to move forward with the jail's contract with Axon Enterprise to provide our deputies with Taser 10s, and this was also budgeted for in 25.
Okay. So is this additional, or this is just fulfilling our contract?
Fulfilling our contract, and it's yes.
Okay.
It's a 5-year contract.
Right. So it's not additional, you're just bringing it forward.
Correct.
Okay. Excellent. Questions, motion.
Yeah, I believe that we talked about this, and that this was an upgrade from the older Tasers.
Right. Axon is not going to be supporting the X2s or the X26Ps. Correct.
Yeah.
Going forward.
So, yep, okay. I move that we approve the contract for the Taser 10s with Axon and the sheriff's office.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 16, board approval request. This is a contract for Motorola ALPR software in our Sheriff's Patrol Division. Lieutenant Headland.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Sheriff Robert Norris. Today I've come before you to seek board approval to continue a program that's been here for 16 years here in Kootenai County that has provided us an MOU to access information for 16 years here in Kootenai County. It is a great crime prevention tool. There has been no breach in data. And this particular feature adds an officer safety feature to the unit that alerts that deputy in the event that there is a armed and dangerous individual, a stolen vehicle, or other hazard that's in his close proximity. I would also like to read into the record a statement relating to the open letter that I received from Commissioner Leslie Duncan on Friday. I wish you had contacted me about this issue. You never did. Instead, you put out a letter to me and our legislators with the wrong policy document. You requested a draft policy. Jonathan, can you show the records request?
Yes, sir.
You requested a draft policy on your public records request. You did not request the policy. And if you had spoken to me directly, I would have told you that. I wanted a much more robust policy than what was currently being circulated. I had recently returned from the Idaho Sheriff Association, in which I had an opportunity to, this subject came up a lot, and this was the subject of a long conversation with 43 other sheriffs here in the state of Idaho. And I assure you, it'll likely come up in the legislative session here that starts in January. I ultimately adopted a much more robust policy, and it's already on our website. Not only does it address your concerns, it goes further, a lot further. Is it 100%? No, it's not 100% perfect, but it's a great start. We want to make sure that our civil liberties are protected here in Kootenai County. We also want to make sure that we are safe from the criminal element here in Kootenai County. As you know, we have a public defender situation that's occurring in the state of Idaho that is compromising public defense for many defendants. There are other counties that are dismissing property crimes as we speak. We live in close proximity to a cesspool called Spokane in the state of Washington. Many of our crime series come from that cesspool of Washington in the city of Spokane. The business owners and residents are sick and tired of it, and they have now adopted in Spokane, they have now adopted a 24/7 crime center that will be up and running to hopefully prevent some of their criminal activity over there. So the document that you sent out has a lot of errors in it. And you recently hosted a town hall meeting about technology. And during that event, you allowed people to make completely false statements. At no time did you ever try to correct them. One person said there were red light cameras in Kootenai County. We have no red light cameras in Kootenai County. I don't support red light cameras. I don't support any activity that incentivizes enforcement, period. Municipalities are using that as a revenue source, and that's not the purpose behind enforcement. The purpose behind enforcement is change behavior. We don't want people to continue to make those decisions. But you knew many of these things were false, and you said nothing. Somebody also suggested that the sheriff's office had video surveillance cameras on traffic lights. Once again, false. Somebody suggested there were facial recognition capability. That is false. Somebody suggested that we can sell that data. That is 100% false. We will not and do not sell that data. We don't sell the data that we've collected for 16 years in the MOU that we've had with other law enforcement agencies here in Kootenai County. We've had no breach of data here in Kootenai County. You also personally sat down with the Motorola representative, and you knew that those things were not true. Fortunately, I asked the Motorola rep to attend your town hall meeting because it turned out he spent a good portion of the hour correcting all of the misinformation that was said. Quite honestly, I'm ashamed that we have elected officials in this county who would allow so much misinformation to occur and mislead its good citizens. You even had an attorney named Brian Cleary who sat next to you. He's an environmental attorney who's represented entities here he's represented entities here like the Coeur d'Alene tribe and others. And he never contacted me to understand about this technology either. How many law enforcement policies has Brian Cleary made? How many has he written? There was also a suggestion that there would be an oversight committee. And as you know, you can't have an oversight committee for an elected official. Wasn't Brian Cleary also on the optional forms of government who actually argued against having additional committees and commissions to oversee elected officials? Because I work for the people here in Kootenai County. I don't work for a commission set forth by, or a committee set forth by the BOCC. I work for we the people here in Kootenai County. I just wonder what made him change his view from being against it to being in favor of it. Let me remind you that it was you, Commissioner Duncan, that approved this technology in 2019. And not once did you contact me or the Sheriff's Office to follow up on the technology that you approved. Then in 2024, an opponent of mine made it a campaign issue, and suddenly it has risen again. What changed, and why are you treating me like this? When it comes to civil liberties, we, you and I, should be working together to protect people's rights. Instead, you ignore me and distribute wrong policy in an attempt to rally legislators and others. Can you give a copy to the... My promise to this community goes back to 2019.
Thank you.
That I would protect their rights. That promise has never wavered. This technology is already in use in Kootenai County and has been an excellent tool to prevent crime. I have said repeatedly that after 1 year, I want to reevaluate the program with the public's input on how effective it is and what can be done to further protect their civil liberties and ensure the system is never abused here. As the elected sheriff, you have never contacted me and expressed any interest in trying to work together on this issue and others. I do not see how your behavior benefits the good citizens of this county. I hope that you can reflect on this and that with the new board coming forward next month, that you can put your personal issues aside and let's do what's best for the citizens of Kootenai County.
Are you finished?
Maybe.
So when was that new policy or your final policy posted on your website? What day?
It was before today. I can't exactly.
Yesterday, Saturday?
It was before today. I
Okay.
have to verify.
So were you purposely hiding something from me, knowing that the public records request was for a policy? Yes, I asked for a draft policy because I was not aware that you had adopted anything. So knowing that I'm asking for a policy, yes, it says the word draft. Was there a reason why you misled me for that to be your policy?
Nobody misled you. The Idaho Sheriff Association conference ended, I want to say on the 14th.
And I asked for this on the 16th, or I got it on the 16th.
On the 13th?
I received it on the 16th.
Okay, and you asked for this on the 13th. So at that time, that was the current one. But like I said earlier, we wanted to have a more robust policy. And from input from sheriffs and attorneys down there in Boise, this is what I came up with. And also, in reference to your letter that license plates are subject to public records disclosure, what county discloses them? Because of the ones I spoke with, nobody releases license plate information from LPRs to anybody who requests it.
Has our county legal reviewed your policy?
Yes.
Okay. And have they weighed in on the fact of whether this, because over and over again, you and Commissioner Matari have said that this is not collecting any personal data. So the way the open record or the public records law reads, if it's not any personal data, then it is subject to public records request.
44 counties in Idaho, and the ones that have LPR, which ones are granting public records requests? You referenced it in your letter, so tell me which ones.
So
tell me which ones.
I'm concerned about Kootenai County. Okay. So I want to know
our attorneys said that is not subject to public records request. Did you consult an attorney before you wrote this letter? Did you consult one of our attorneys?
Let's just say that I did bring it to someone's attention, but not in official capacity. So I did not ask them for a written review of it. I just said, I'm looking into this.
So license plates from license plate readers are not subject to public records request. You or an individual may request their own, but you can't request somebody else's.
Well, I would like our legal to weigh in on it officially. I have not seen that request for legal advice. And then I would also like to ask, well, hang on, I have a couple more here. Okay, so are you actually saying that you think that I should engage the public and not let them speak? That town hall that I held was for their opinions and their concerns. Yes, there was a lot of misinformation that the public had, and it has been cleared up. So, and that was another reason why you held your town hall, and that's fantastic. A lot of people were grateful for that information. So, again, I am not going to stop somebody and sit there and correct them for every little thing, especially when there's stuff I had to research myself. So not everything that was said that I readily knew was incorrect. And Post Falls had stored this data on site at some point, and they have been subject to 2 breaches. So my question would be, was any of this data in that breach?
That has been asked and answered, no.
Okay, thank you. So I appreciate this, but you didn't reach out to me either. And so again, it is a two-way street. You knew about the public records request. You knew that I'm very interested in this topic. And I'm not actually going to debate today whether it's good or not, because the technology has been used. It has been beneficial. What we're talking about is an expansion of it into cars, which will be collecting even more data than our current stationary ones done. Our current stationary ones currently collect. So
I don't believe that to be the case, and I don't believe the Motorola rep believes that to be the case, because this only collects information that's generally in front of the deputy's vehicle. And it has a officer safety feature to this. A camera that is operated on a post site that is operational 24/7. This is only operational on average of 32 hours a week.
Well, 24/7, because you're going to have deputies on the road 24/7.
Okay, but I'm talking about fixed cameras operate 24/7, whereas
your deputies will also operate 24/7. You've asked for 48 cars.
Each deputy will have access.
Yep. So one of my biggest issues is the policy. So I cannot approve this today without reading the policy to make sure that our constituents are particularly protected, number one. Number two, did you engage the public at all in this policy?
No. Well, I did, because they've elected me to be their sheriff.
So that's not actually public engagement.
That's not public engagement. No. I hold 40, I hold 40 coffee with the sheriff, town hall events, and you know how many times that license plate readers have come up? 0. That's engaging the public. 40.
Because again,
I've held 40.
This is an expansion.
You know how many emails that I've received regarding license plate readers up until April of 2024? 0. Zero concerns on this. Zero.
Well, they're concerned now that the expansion goes to mobile and not just to stationary ones. So again, I am not necessarily opposed to the technology. What I want to make sure is there's a policy in place to make sure that we are not keeping data for a year. I think that's excessive, and that is something that I want to fully engage in. So again, this contract is...
Law enforcement for 10 years. So how long generally does it take to develop a vehicle description on a crime?
I don't know, but I'm still uncomfortable with 99.9% or 99.5%. I've seen both that. I'm concerned about that much data being stored for a year when the data that leads to those hits is very, very low. So with that, I don't see a reason to debate this any further right now. You've got a fabulous policy, I'm sure. I am happy to go through that and address any of my constituents' concerns if there should still be any outline. This contract today has not been run through legal, and so there's no non-appropriation clause. The normal standard language about the Chinese government that we are required by state law to have these people sign is not here. So I would ask that this be pushed off in order for me to review the policy and for legal to review the contract. So that's what I'm asking today.
Well, I have a couple questions because you sent the letter to me this morning that you wrote. And, you know, I understand the comment about, you know, the sheriff reaching out to you, but in fairness, when you post a letter and you don't tell people you're going to post a letter, how are they supposed to know to reach out to you? One, you put my name in it 4 times. I didn't get any benefit of that. You know, we have status update meetings. We have all kinds of meetings where we meet, you know, like when we had the joint powers agreement, I made it a point to present that to the board. I think we all know that we can't have conversations outside of these public meetings, so there is plenty of opportunity for those discussions to have. I wish that you had an attorney review this first.
Okay.
I read your letter, and the 2 things that stood out to me were the public records component and then the policy. There's no mention in here about your concerns of expanding the program. So I just want to understand, what is your issue? Is it the potential that it's a public records issue? Is it, which according to the sheriff, his counsel has said it's not a public record? Or is it because of the policy, which if I looked at the policy that you received, I would have a lot of concerns about? So is it the public records component? Is it the policy component, or is it the expansion that you just said today that is your concern?
They're all my concerns, and I probably could list about 2 or 3 more concerns.
Okay, because it's very hard to understand how to address the concerns when they're constantly being added in here. It'd be nice to have a list of those concerns and then they can be addressed. Now, what I can say is I had a chance to review this policy manual from the sheriff earlier before this meeting, and comparing it to what you had put together, it definitely addresses your concerns in here. And it actually goes further. There were some other things about like notifying others of inaccuracies. That wasn't addressed in your document, in your letter. Data breach and how that affects people. That wasn't addressed in your letter. What to do if equipment is damaged. That wasn't addressed in your letter. A hot list. You know, how often is that going to be updated? You know, every day, right? And then, of course, you have the circumstances that would exceed the deletion date. You know, under what circumstances would you retain the data beyond the time period before destruction? So this policy manual actually addresses your issues and more.
That's very, very encouraging to hear.
Yes.
And I am very excited to go through it.
Now, I have a question for you. In your letter, you mention, it says, one study found that approximately 99.5% of ALPR captured data is non-alert data. What study was that?
I have it in text message. It's an article that I read, so I don't have it off
So
the
you're
top
not,
of my head.
okay. Well, given the fact, and I think you and I are in agreement of this, after COVID, we got to hear all these studies about how safe and effective the vaccine was, but we never understood those studies. And so I think it's important that you source studies in here. Otherwise, I can't take them seriously.
Sure, and I don't have a problem
So
with that.
I
It's
think-
not an all-encompassing letter.
Well, but it's a letter, it's an open letter, and you did include the legislators here. And, you know, in fairness, if you're going to send a letter and you're going to say, well, why don't you reach out to me? I think if you're the one initiating the letter, it would be appropriate to at least reach out to those that, you know,
So
they
I
can't
will-
read your mind.
I will comment on that because the sheriff had an open letter to me, didn't reach out to me first, and copied Kootenai County Precinct Committee people on that. So I at least kept it to people who can actually help us address these situations rather than release it to the general public. So I didn't even release it to the general public. I released it, I sent it to the legislators so they would understand what my concerns are with the different public record laws.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the same courtesy that you're sitting here telling me about right now. And he released it to the public and put it on his website and everything.
So you went before the Central Committee without letting me know you were going in front of the Central Committee. So then I put out a letter based on what you did. So you actually, by your own admission just now, you actually went to the Central Committee on a law enforcement application.
So I went talking about the town hall and what I discovered.
Well,
So,
hey, the town hall turned out to be a discussion on license plate readers. That's
well,
what the town hall turned out.
I'm not going to pigeonhole my constituents into whatever. I wanted a broader discussion. That's why it was published as broader. That's why I had some broader guest speakers on that.
So if I was going to address the Central Committee and it had something to do with the chair or the BOCC, would it be fair for me to say, hey, just to let you know, I'm going to go to the Central Committee and this is what I'm going to talk about?
Would you do that?
Would that be fair?
Would you do that?
Would that be fair? Would that be fair? As another elected official, would it be professional courtesy for me to say, hey, you know, this expansion, this justice expansion originally was 22 million, but now we're in the 36. If I were going to do that, would you expect the same courtesy that you did not give me?
If you are going to talk about your own opinions, maybe. If you're just presenting facts, probably not. And the fact is, it was 26 million because the 22 didn't include soft costs. So,
Okay, so
anyway.
26 million.
Actually, it did. It was 18.5 million, and the soft costs were up to make it 22 million. It's in the February 2022 document. But that's another discussion. So, you know, look, in the end, I share your concerns, Commissioner Duncan. You know, I do. I've said this before, you know, you put my name in 4 times in your letter. I don't know what the point of that was, but I stated my case. I am against the surveillance state. Okay? I came from a place that became that. You know, it's interesting where I came from in Virginia. There's a group, North Idaho, or there's a group out there that's sending an email out, and it referenced a court case that was filed in this past October about Norfolk. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yep.
What happened there was that they added 172 license plate readers throughout the city. Are you familiar with the May Circuit Court decision order granting defendants motion to suppress information?
Nope.
Okay. Same jurisdiction. What happened was the defendant wanted license plate reader information suppressed in a court case. And basically what the judge said, and I tend to agree with it, the judge said, it's very quick here, Here, the court finds the collection and storage of license plate and location information by the flock system constitutes a search within the meaning of the Fourth Amendment and should require a warrant. Like the obtaining and storing of cell site location data, installing a global positioning system device, a GPS device on a vehicle to track a citizen's whereabouts is a search and requires a warrant, United States v. Jones. The court finds that due to the breadth of the flock cameras, 172 throughout the city, covering the entire city of Norfolk, and the storage component is also akin to a GPS device and requires a warrant. So there's clearly, it's getting to the point where if there's enough of these things, the Fourth Amendment does start to come into play. But there's a lot of precedence too that says, you know, capturing a license plate in a public setting is not an invasion of privacy, but
Correct.
tracking you everywhere. And when you think about this particular court case, and you look at this issue before the board, we're not talking about adding more cameras at stationary points throughout the county. We're actually talking about having these mobile cameras on patrol cars. And so what can happen to you is that you could go through Dalton Gardens in 95 and your license plate could be captured because there's a patrol car behind you. But you could go through that intersection 100 times more and never be flagged because there was no patrol car there. And if you had a stationary one there, it would know every time, every day, what time of day you go through that particular intersection. And so I actually see this much more as an advantage for our deputies to at least know what's going on at that point in time than certainly adding stationary cameras. I am not for the expansion of the surveillance state in any way, shape, or form. But, you know, when this issue first came up, I went to the sheriff and I went to the undersheriff and I said, I do not support this. I do not support this. And we spent a fair amount of time talking about this. I talked with different deputies about how they use this technology. I met with the Motorola rep, who I thought was going to be kind of evasive and not very open about this technology. And I was surprised at how open he was. In fact, one of the big things for me is I want to have people in this community see what I look at when I make a decision. And so I invited Doug Belia, a member of our community, to join me for that meeting. He also happens to be a member of the Central Committee, our Republican Central Committee. And after that meeting, even he agreed that to test this for 1 year would not be unreasonable, given the amount of information that the Motorola rep was willing to share with him. And, you know, I watched at your town hall, Commissioner Duncan. You know, I'm not saying that you were the one who provided any misinformation. You were not. But a lot was said that was not corrected. And fortunately, the Motorola rep was there to at least correct this stuff, because there is nothing worse than whipping people up into a frenzy with the wrong information. And I saw the comment about red light cameras, and I was like, there is no red light cameras in Kootenai County. Right. Everybody knows that. That should be corrected right then and there. I obviously was at the sheriff's town hall, and you know, people were very receptive after they understood what he was asking for and discussed the pros and the cons of technology.
The one that held 1 week before Christmas.
A couple weeks ago.
Oh.
The sheriff's town hall.
Oh, a week ago, like tomorrow.
The 17th.
Yeah, so a week ago tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hold on.
Yeah, so, you know, and like I said, people were receptive to what he said. What surprised me the most is that a lot of the people who were at your town hall did not show up to the sheriff's town hall. And to me, if you want to get the full story, to understand a particular issue, you have to get both sides. You have to get that information in order to make a good decision. And those people didn't show up, and it was a perfect opportunity. It was a perfect opportunity for them to ask their questions. Many of those people were the same people talking about child trafficking or human trafficking in this county. The same people. And you would think that you would want, and we just heard a retired law enforcement officer say, I hope, I was on the Child Recovery Task Force, I hope that they have this system. And so on one hand, we want to stop human trafficking, even though we don't really have any evidence of that. And on the other hand, we don't want to have the tool sets available to stop human trafficking. And to me, I don't understand that. You know, there's no doubt about it, it's dangerous to be a police officer. I think you can agree. You've said you had a nexus to law enforcement. I think that is true. It is dangerous. And as this community grows, it likely will become more dangerous. And there's no doubt about it. I think you would agree that this technology does and has saved lives.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. You've been a commissioner longer than me, but for the 16 years that we've had this technology, have you seen any abuse of it? One instance of abuse?
So, again, this is kind of an increase in scope, number one. Number two, it doesn't mean that abuse isn't going to happen. We have CJIS abuse that goes on, and the sheriff did make mention of it, you know, that it's typically a family member that's involved. So it doesn't matter if we've never had an abuse. Abuse could happen tomorrow. So again, I'm doing my due diligence, and this right here, folks, is a huge step in the right direction. So I'm very excited to go through this and see if there's any other discussion points.
Okay,
but again, a lot of it has to do with the data retention, and I am not convinced that my question about the public records and Idaho state law has been answered. So I would look forward to having legal weigh in on that. And also about, you know, legal didn't weigh in on this contract. So. Well,
you know, the reality is that there has been no abuse. If there was, I'm sure that you would be the first person to bring that out. I have all the confidence that you would say that. Because,
no abuse that's been caught.
Well, that's like that for a lot of things that haven't been caught in the county government. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're elected by the people, to ensure that. Mm-hmm. That's why the sheriff is elected.
I've been involved in the county for 6 years, primarily as far as my liaison duties with the sheriff's office. And I have seen no abuse whatsoever. You never want to put your trust in somebody because it's easily betrayed. But as much as you can, I trust Bob Morris. I think he's done a great job. I think he's reviewed this stuff. And I think the key here is the retention of the data. And I just from my readings, I'd like to see it gone in not more than 14 days, and maybe as little as 2. But if you find a license plate that makes you, as law enforcement, suspect something, set it aside, put it in a special file, but everything else gets erased.
It's 1 year, Commissioner Duncan, if that's what you're looking for.
I'm just saying, I don't want my stuff kept here. I used to work for the National Security Agency when I was in the military. And that was too long ago for me to even tell you. I started when I was 17. And they know more about you than you ever thought. And if people want to be bad actors in that regard, they can. They don't. Occasionally somebody's caught. But I'm prepared to vote for this immediately and work on the policy if we want to fine tune it and have this discussion. But I'm not willing to say no. I have to say a resounding yes. I look at how many people were here when that little girl was kidnapped with her parents were killed. Remember that one? There's a lot of stuff goes on that's nasty and violent, and it's right here in Kootenai County. And if we can stop that as much as possible, we're not looking in your wallets or your bedroom windows or anything else or reading your mail. These are simple things. I've seen them mostly used with parking tickets.
So you're willing
You
to...
don't do anything with parking tickets.
Well,
no parking tickets, wait a minute.
But the contract approves the parking feature.
Leslie, I'm sorry, what were you asking?
Yeah.
So I'm willing to...
So you said 2 to 14 days you'd be comfortable with. So approving this contract today gives us no guarantee that that is going to come forward.
I know that.
And then
That's-
also, in 6 years, how many contracts have you approved and signed without them going through legal review?
I'm sure a number of them, I'm thinking, this is, and I don't know that this hasn't this gone to legal?
It has
We
not.
do business with Motorola now.
Hold on a minute.
We do business with Motorola now.
Okay. The thing I'm seeing is there's a, Leslie and Bruce and Bob know what's going on. The rest of the people in this room are kind of going, you know, and it sounds like a big argument between two people. And it's not. It shouldn't be. And we're looking for a solution to a problem. And at the same time, to be able to use the technology that we have, as long as it's not.
Well, you know, in fairness now, Commissioner Brooks, what the sheriff is asking for is 1 year. That's what he's asked for, 1 year.
Okay.
Okay, 1 year. I believe there is an appropriations clause, or that we would only fund 1 year out of a 3 or 5 year agreement. So the future boards could choose not to fund the next year, and then it would not happen.
There's no non-appropriation clause in the documentation in our packet, and so no, it's 5 years. And so that would be something else to look at if it was for only 1 year and the data retention was between 2 and 14 days. Those are whole new discussion points. And I'm not sure why it's brought today. It's good, the quote's good until February 16th. So I'm not really sure why we're trying to push it through today with no legal review and without the commissioners being able to look at the policy.
Well, I'm prepared to vote on it, and I would vote yes.
Well, look, the reality is that I think that we can say yes to this with the appropriations clause and with the document signed stating that it's not a Chinese-controlled company. I don't think that's an issue. I think the appropriations clause would be sufficient for you, Commissioner Duncan, on this particular issue. I think that, you know, given the fact that this was a campaign issue for the sheriff, the community voted overwhelming for the sheriff, and they trusted his judgment. They trust his character. He's asking for 1 year to collect the data and then make the case to this community that this is a worthwhile program to continue. And frankly, I plan on sitting right next to you and everyone else in this room who is skeptical of this program. I think the sheriff has to make, and the sheriff's office has to make, a compelling case as to why we should continue this, how long we should retain the data. I think it's fair to say that after day 1, the data's value drops a lot. After day 361, it's probably pretty minuscule, the number of crimes that'll be solved. And so we just have to figure out where that is. But we have a start with a decent policy manual. Like I said, I've looked at it. It addresses your issues, Commissioner Duncan, and more. And with an appropriations clause, with the document claiming that there's no Chinese influence with the company, ownership, what have you, I'm okay with that.
So Dave, can they sign the contract just based on that in the motion? Because the Motorola hasn't agreed to either of those things, so.
If the contract is signed as it is, the only way to add those would be by an addendum, which, as you stated, hasn't been agreed to, so those would be counter offers for an addendum to be added.
Which they could disagree with, and the contract would stand signed as is.
I think that's right.
No, because you would add the addendum to it and then present it to them with the addendum signed. So they would execute it with the addendum. You could handwrite that on the contract. I mean, just like you would with a home sale. You write in what you want, and then you initial it, and you sign it, and you give it to them, and then that is what they're agreeing to.
Well, I am willing to consider this at a date future with legal review, with those two things added, and with my thorough review of the policy, which I should find that it addresses all my concerns.
So the expansion component you're not worried about that now?
It's still a concern, and that's why more attention's brought to it, but the expansion component with a very narrow data retention is something that I would look into, that I would look at.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how we could, compel that outside of on the funding side, but I think at the very least, we want to have the data so we can look at that. I think that the next board will be addressing this issue as soon as May. As far as putting it in the budget. So I'm okay if we can make the adjustments on the agreement. We sign it, they approve it. You can look at this, and the policy manual, I'm okay with it. And give the sheriff and his office 1 year.
So the next board could actually address this in 3 weeks from now. So again, with the quote not expiring until February 16th, I am still at a loss as to why it has to be done today. No compelling argument or reason has been told to me why this has to be done today.
Well, I guess there's 37 other items that could have waited also then.
The other 37 items
Yeah, could they have waited?
aren't contentious.
We already do business with Motorola. We already do business with Motorola.
This is a
So to
different contract.
So to suggest that they're a Chinese company now, I mean, it's,
I am not suggesting that at all. I'm saying we have to have the documentation. State law requires us to have that documentation. So, again, sounds like you have 2 votes. So, anytime, but I'm not agreeing to this. I'm not signing it because number 1, it's not time sensitive. Number 2, needs legal review. Number 3, needs the addendums. Number 4, I would like to go through the policy. Would you like any more reasons? I don't understand why you need my vote.
How long does it take for legal to review this and get an addendum?
Dave? That'd be a Dave question.
I don't know. Darren Murphy's the assigned attorney.
Okay.
I can't speak for him.
Okay.
If we postpone this for 1 week and get it on the next business meeting, that'll give Commissioner Duncan time to review the policy manual, and we have to have the addendum anyhow. We have to have the Chinese one. I mean, that's state statute. With legal's blessing, and we can even get a statement from the attorney that just says, that these are not public records. I mean, as far as the expansion stuff goes, I don't think that should be an issue for Commissioner Duncan. I think that once you look at the policy manual, you'll agree it addresses your issues. Do you plan on sending it to anybody for review outside of the county?
No.
Okay.
No.
So,
But it's on his website, so anybody who wants to review it can review it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to review it myself.
well, there you go.
So,
I mean, we have to have the agreement correct when we sign it.
okay. So, may I move on?
Do you agree? Well, you haven't had a chance to look at it, but you would agree that we have to have the Chinese addendum saying that they're not.
That's the preferred process, to sign that addendum along with the agreement.
Yeah.
And then, as you stated, the addenda to be approved by Motorola before the board signs it, that just seems to fit better. So.
I mean, it seems to me to be a obstructionist tactic, but I'll allow the board to.
Well,
Following policy that every elected official here follows to get legal review on contracts that BOCC departments get, I hardly can argue is obstructionist.
well, hold on a second. Is there? Didn't we get a statement from someone in your office who said that this is only being funded for 1 year?
So it's not in the agreement. So if that's the case, it's not in the agreement. How can you ask me to put my name on something that says 5 years?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Dunn, I'm just asking them a question. I wasn't asking you a question.
Go ahead.
Do you remember what it says? Come on up here.
Commissioners, RJ, again, for the record, how are you? It's currently a 5-year contract, but it goes by year to year, so it's approved on an annual permission from the board to move forward with that contract from year to year. So it's first-year contract, second-year contract, so on and so forth.
Okay, so again, that language is not in there, and so I would just be more comfortable if it was in there. And that's typically what we require on contracts. So again.
Is there any language in here that references what happens if the county doesn't pay? You just cancel the service?
Simply canceled. There's no hardware that's offered with this. There's no equipment that's being sold.
There's no collection, failure to perform, anything like that?
We don't do that.
So you get paid for 1 year, and that's it. The board doesn't pay you again. Contract ends.
Correct.
So while I appreciate Mr. Garwood's testimony here today, I'm not sure that that would hold up in court.
I thought a verbal contract is indeed a contract.
I don't know that
That's what's induced us into
does
this
he have the
agreement.
authority based on Motorola Solutions to make that agreement?
Would you?
I'm writing the contract, so I guess I can amend it too.
Right.
So you can? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Well, if you can amend it so that it addresses that and the non-appropriations part and get the signed and that it's contingent on the Chinese thing, then I'm okay with that.
What we can do is we can do a 1-year contract to satisfy those requirements.
You can do a what?
1-year contract, so it's cleaner, if that works for you. And at which time we can have your legal give us the wording that you would like in the contract for the legal red lines, submit it to our legal, and they will approve that portion of it, and then we can sign the contract.
So in essence, what we can do, Dave, just out of curiosity, if we printed this out and I just started scratching off stuff and then signed it, would that wouldn't constitute us being bound into the entire contract because we amended it and then sent that to them to agree to it?
Your deletions or changes are now a counteroffer to Motorola. And of course, they could accept or make another counteroffer with additional changes.
But if they accept it, then it's bound.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
If that's what the board approves is those changes. The board would need to approve those amendments first.
Okay. Is the sheriff's office okay with a 1-year contract?
Yes.
Then I move that we approve the request for a 1-year contract with Motorola for the ALP software with the sheriff's office, including the addendum that must be signed stating that the company does not have any ownership interest by China or a Chinese firm.
I second the motion.
Bill, excuse me, Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Nay, you did forget county legal review. So with that, items 18 and 19 can be held together, and we can get these advisory board appointments done pretty quick. So this is.
Should we do a new motion then? Since you knew about the bill,
Pardon?
should we do a new motion? Because Commissioner Duncan says that there was no county legal review included in the motion.
Well, yeah, sure, I'll vote for that too.
I still won't vote for it. I've not looked at his policy.
You asked a question, I gave an answer.
Thank you.
So, Bill
You want to
Brooks,
make a new motion?
So we're going to do a new motion here.
um,
I move that we approve the request for a 1-year contract with Motorola for ALPR software with the Sheriff's Office to include legal review and the addendum relating to China and/or any Chinese company having influence over the Motorola Corporation.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Nay. Okay, items 18 and 19, Natural Resource Advisory Board appointments. That's appointing Paul Wagner again for another term and James Sturgis for another term, both ending December 31st, 2027. Questions, motion?
Are we doing all three?
I only have
just two.
Yeah.
Two.
Yeah.
I move that we approve or appoint Paul Wagner and James Sturgis to the Natural Resources Board with terms expiring 12/31/27.
I second the motion. Can we move it outside, please?
Okay.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, 20 through 23, Parks and Waterways Advisory Board. And this is for Jeffrey Stagner, James Harris, Casey Price, Gary Schmidt, all with terms ending 12/31/27, and these are all reappointments.
I move that we appoint Jeffrey Stagner, James Harris, Casey Price, and Gary Schmidt to Parks and Waterways with terms expiring 12/31/27.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, noxious weeds. So we've got 24 through 26, and this is the reappointment of Jack Zimmer, Lauren Scarcello, Don Bradway, all with terms ending December 31st, 2026.
I move that we appoint Jack Zimmer, Lauren Scarcello, Don Bradway to the Noxious Weeds Board with terms expiring 12/31/26.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, items 27 and 28, this is for the Snowmobile Advisory Board. Now, this one has a change, so Joseph Wiest would be reappointed for until 12/31/27, and John Padula would be a new appointment expiring 12/31/26 because he is taking over a vacant position.
But we don't really, we're appointing for a new term, aren't we?
I don't, well,
I mean, their terms are expiring, so we're in essence appointing them for the new term.
Commissioner, I think it's your discretion, but the goal of the original past boards was to have staggered terms. That
Yeah.
way, if someone steps in, like a president resigning, they don't get a new 4-year presidential term, you step in. That was.
It's fine. I'll put it in the motion. I move that we reappoint Joseph Wiest and appoint John Padula to the Snowmobile Advisory Board with terms expiring 12/31/27.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
aye. All right, Historic Preservation Commission. This is for the reappointment of Jonathan Mueller and Walter Burns, terms expiring 12/31/27.
I move that we appoint or reappoint Jonathan Mueller and Walter Burns for the Historic Preservation Commission with terms expiring 12/31/27.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, Board of Community Guardians. We have several reappointments, and I believe, is it Brian who's the new appointment? Okay. So we've got Teresa Radford, Nancy Edwards, and Beth Garside reappointed, and Brian Lepke would be our new appointment, and they're all expiring 12/31/28.
I move that we appoint and reappoint Teresa Radford, Nancy Edwards, Beth Garside, Brian Lepke to the Board of Community Guardians with terms expiring 12/31/28.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, Aquifer Protection District. We have, again, 3 reappointments and 1 new appointment. So Nisha Mayani, Larry Sims, Lawrence Garcelle, reappointments, and David Levine is a new appointment, all expiring December 31st, 27.
I move that we reappoint Nisha Miani, Larry Sims, Lauren Scarcello, and appoint David Levine to the Aquifer Protection District with terms expiring 12/31/27.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Public comment.
Before it's done, I want to make a public comment.
Okay. Anybody on the phone for public comment? And nobody online, Jonathan? Okay. In person? Got one?
On the public comment.
Okay. Are you ready to make public comment?
Person on the phone.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Just state your name and then you can give public comment.
Outstanding, thank you. This is Donna Wilson for the record. It seems evident to me that Sheriff Bob Norris's agenda to implement license plate reader technology in Kootenai County definitely had a predetermined outcome. He's forced his hand by installing hardware on KCSO vehicles that implemented the technology in demo mode without public knowledge. Through records requests, it was discovered that Norris had indeed been using this tech without policies that would at least provide some amount of protection for Kootenai County residents who are concerned about privacy, mostly related to future use of information. In his most recent town hall, Norris now discusses his policies regarding LPR software after he has already allowed the use of this technology without those policies being in place. And in fact, the issue of policies is part of what continues to be in question right here today. You've also today recruited retired California law enforcement to speak on your behalf, belittling Kootenai County residents, stating that here in North Idaho, we're behind the times, assuring us that this is not only for officer safety, but will benefit all of Kootenai County residents by catching the bad guys. Sounds good. But whether your gaslighting is intentional or not, when your tax-paying residents are telling you, we don't want this, we're not asking you to bring in your reinforcements to prove to us why we want it and need it. We don't need your handlers like Bruce Matari's explanations as to how our privacy is already being compromised in much larger ways, and therefore the implementation of this LPR technology, it's safe. Just relax, everybody. And Bob Norris, your public does not trust you because your track record on this issue alone proves your lack of transparency. We don't trust Motorola. We don't trust the guy you're associated with who's a Motorola rep, and I suspect receiving commissions on deals he's making with KCSO. And of course your deputies want the technology. Of course they want all the conveniences that they can possibly have as part of their jobs. But what we want and what we're looking for is a balance between what residents want and what the department truly needs, not just what they want because of easy access to information and the ease of use. We get that. I urge you, clean up your mess before you demand that we just trust you. Because after all, this LPR technology, it's for our own good, right? You say, trust me, there's never been a data breach. Trust me, you say, we've been using it for 16 years. People are reticent for a reason. And as Leslie stated, this has been a hot topic for a reason. So stop demanding that people set aside their natural concerns. Matari continues to personalize this issue with his stories about the surveillance state from which he hails. And he doesn't want that here. But Matari, if you had to take a wild guess, what would you say was the start of that surveillance? What was it? Was it for your own good? Is that why you're covering your own license plate?
Okay, Ms. Wilson,
here?
Ms. Wilson, if you could just keep the comments addressed to the board, please. Okay.
So I would just say, Bill Brooks, no, Norris has not done a good job. What he's done here today is proven to be untrustworthy. This LPR matter is an example of that and how it's being handled today,
Okay,
even just to talk back and forth.
I'm sorry.
For your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Amy Fonstrom. I did want to mention that there is a commissioner up there that does have a license plate reader cover on there, which we've already stated before, but I want to remind everyone of that. Also, I'm an Idaho native, and it's so challenging for me to sit here and have all of these people testify today saying how we need to protect Kootenai County when everybody moving here has brought all the riffraff. And I appreciate all of our officers' service, but there also has to be some compromise. Anyways, and the reason why I personally didn't go to the town hall meeting, which was mentioned that a lot of us that are against the license plate readers didn't show up, is because I feel like Sheriff Norris is so sketchy with things. Like, in fact, planning this to vote on today, and I'm not sure if he's the one that scheduled it, but I have a feeling Matari did if not. This was slimy. I mean, half the people are out of town for Christmas. I think it was really shady. Also, I do want to say that when you were initially not going to vote, yes, you guys were going to postpone it till next week. I did see Matari look at Norris and lip the words, sorry, like there was a communication going on between you two, which was really disappointing to see. Also, Motorola, at the town hall that the gentleman was speaking, he couldn't guarantee that our data wasn't going to be breached and hacked and things like that. There is no guarantee. After they supposedly purge it, it doesn't go away. Technology doesn't have it just disappear forever, so it will still be around. And Norris said there were 0 emails before April. That's because none of us knew this was going on. I had never been told that he had transported, was it 37 vehicles down to Utah, was it, to have all of the hardware put on? I was never informed of that. The community was not told of that, and so we didn't know. So now we want to be, involved in things like that. This was not a campaign issue. I'm going to state that clearly. Not a campaign issue. I know Norris wants to say it was, but it wasn't. Sorry, I have my little notes I was making. I just want to thank everybody for their service. And especially Leslie, I want to say a public thank you for not voting yes on this issue. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leslie Cole, and I don't normally come to your commissioners' meetings, but I see the need to, I think our whole nation is seeing the need to pay attention to what is going on locally, and that we've all been way too trusting of our officials, and who seemingly don't. Some do not want the accountability, it appears. And I am looking at you, Bruce, because there was obvious pressure here today to get this done now. And again and again and again, I feel like Leslie, when I did go to her town meeting in November, because I thought, I don't understand, I don't know a thing about it. The room was filled, probably 200, way more people than today. And there was a lot of discussion. Obviously, Leslie brought in Chris Ann Hall, a constitutional attorney her message was clear. Once you begin to allow your freedoms to be infringed on, you can't put them back in the bag. And those who did testify, some have military background, others who'd worked at Microsoft. And yes, we all very carefully listened and questioned the Motorola man. The only comment I had that day was, okay, we've learned a lot. Most came, I think, not knowing what to think. And I feel like the spirit of it was Leslie gathering information from the taxpayers. And there was a lot of back and forth information and comments. My question toward the end was, is there anybody here that's in favor of this? Not one hand went up. Why weren't they at last Tuesday's town hall with Bob Norris? I'll tell you, I had it on my calendar, wanted to go, wanted to hear it, but our governor decides more regulations are needed in the way of emergency. And thankfully, Pastor Paul showed up for that and clearly pointed out this could be something like Lahaina, where the language in here needs to be corrected. Please do not vote on it. Oh, they all vote for it, except for Dan Gookin. I'll give him credit that he went, yeah, the language has to be corrected. It does not allow for the freedoms. I believe every single concern she had is already been clearly by those who find the time to show up. And just like our representatives in DC, why do they have to have a vote on something just right before Christmas? It's their own agenda. And so I want you to really reflect on our Pledge of Allegiance. A pledge of allegiance to allow the people to have a say. That's what a republic is. And, you know, I feel like it was very much verified to me today that the pressure Leslie's been under is that she's all by herself in trying to be logical, legal, and clear, and include the public. Very much verified. Sadly to say, you know, it was so obvious. And I did speak this to Bob Norris in the hallway, but having former law enforcement from California come in, that doesn't help because they didn't do their job. We're trying to do our job here.
Okay, Ms. Cole, I'm sorry. It's
And they haven't done their job in California, and it's obvious, and we don't want that here.
Okay, next. Thank you.
My name is Stephanie Wolf. I've completely forgotten everything that I was going to say from when I walked in earlier, because things changed. I guess one of the first things I'd like to say is, as others have mentioned, Commissioner Matari, you kind of belittled your citizens when you were saying, well, where were these people? They weren't even at Sheriff Norris's town hall last week. And as you have now found out, we were at another meeting on emergency preparedness because we were told, and it was voted on, that now Governor Little, with a mandate, we can now be arrested if we don't follow a mandate. We thought that under COVID, mandates were mandates and laws were laws, but evidently that has changed, and that's where we were last week. Also, I think that it's very unfair that you would have a meeting of this magnitude 2 days before Christmas when you know people are out of town, you know people are busy, and it's not fair. And to stack those two meetings up last week and then to have this one today is unfair to your citizenry. It's just not fair. And why the rush? Why the big rush to get this through today? It was clearly not ready to go through. Legal hadn't gone through. It hadn't been processed through legal terms. And there were other things I have, and I don't know where it is on my notes now. Anyway, we see that it wasn't ready to go through. You pushed it through. Why? Because the dynamics are going to change with the new session, and this was a way to get it through. That's how it appears to us. Maybe that's not the truth, but that's how it appears to us, and it stinks. What I wanted to say earlier, although that wasn't even really any kind of it wasn't even barely an issue today, I wanted to mention that you're acting like this isn't a Fourth Amendment issue, and it is. When the Fourth Amendment was added, it was to protect us from unreasonable searches and seizures. With technology, of course, that changes. When we travel through our city and drive and are captured on cameras, and when we are captured now on sheriff's cameras, that is a search. That is a tracking of us. And the Fourth Amendment was to protect us. The Fourth Amendment, even though I appreciate law enforcement so much, I say a little prayer when I see them. May God be with you whenever I'm driving down the street. But the Fourth Amendment was not meant to protect law enforcement. It was meant to protect us. And that it is making it easier for law enforcement. That is not the purpose of it. That is not what this should be about today, making it easier for law enforcement or even safer. That is not the point.
It's 3 minutes are up, but thank you for your
Good
comments.
I would like to address that because this is becoming addressing Commissioner Matari and not the Board
I
of
just have
County
a question that
Commissioners.
when you do rebuttal, do we have a chance then to rebuttal back?
This is not a back and forth.
Right.
Okay, I was just,
Public comment is not a back and forth.
okay, I'm glad because I didn't know. I wanted to know what the rule on that was.
That's fair.
So, somehow, some way, somebody wrote something that suggested I put this on the meeting today. I did not put this on the meeting today. I don't know why that was written that way. I did not instruct anyone to put this on the meeting today. I had no idea this was going to be on the meeting until the end of last week. The sheriff's office can confirm that. The fact is, I appreciate the comments of people. No one is acknowledging the fact that I suggested that we take a 5-year contract and make it a 1-year contract. No one's acknowledging that. So, the point is that, what I have tilted toward was giving our sheriff an opportunity to justify that this technology actually can save lives and keep this community safer. And it's up to the sheriff's office and the sheriff to demonstrate to this community with real information, not hyperbole about what's happening in Virginia. That is a different community, but with real information of how it affects us here. And with that said, it's going to be incumbent upon him and his office to demonstrate that it's worthy of the next board to fund it again. And you will have a voice. This is not a permanent program. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, that answers some of my question there. But I went to the meeting that they had at.
Oh, sorry.
Your name.
I went to the meeting at the
Your
library.
name?
You got to state your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Fred, and my last name is Cole, and we lived here in Coeur d'Alene a long time, and we love it here. And we went to the meeting at the library, and there were a lot of people there. There's real concern about this issue. And that meeting was at the same time as the sheriff's meeting. Now, I have a question for you, Bruce. If I remember right, you are an honorary deputy sheriff by Norris. Is that correct? I think that is a conflict of interest. Just so you know, I'm not the only one that thinks that. So I appreciate the government that we have here in this county, and I'm glad that it is as free as it is. But there's a lot of people, many people, that are very concerned about the infringement on our rights, particularly from a law enforcement that is basically from California. There's a real concern there. You call us rednecks, call us whatever you want, but there's a real concern, okay? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Donald Cameron again. I'm a resident of Kootenai County. I don't go to many of these meetings, so this is kind of new. Not really used to speaking to large groups of people. I can just say that, if we really want to be safe here, we should have metal detectors in all of the grocery stores and barber shops. Yeah, it's about the boiling frog, and this is another step. This is another bit of mortar in the wall. So think about that. But I also just wanted to mention that I'm a small business owner, and I just found it kind of a little bit disturbing that the county commissioners are willing to vote on something without full legal review. You're fiduciaries, I believe, And I think you have a responsibility to get a good review. Now, I'm sure the sheriff has a reputable and honorable legal counsel, but his interest is, I think, I'm not really an expert in government, but he's got his area and you've got yours, and you need to get your own legal review. So I was a little disturbed at that pushback, and I think it's a bit unprofessional. So I commend Commissioner Duncan for sticking to her guns, and I hope that this process gives all the commissioners a chance to really read this document for themselves, and then also to take the advice of professional counsel. Thank you.
Yeah, well, and I thank you too for bringing that up, because we incorporated that as a condition for approval. So, but that's a good point.
Yeah.
We don't keep going around in circles.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And Mr.
Could I just say one thing? Next time when you tell us that we can do public comment after, I didn't realize that it was going to be after the vote.
Yeah.
And I really wish that had been more clear.
Okay.
Because I wanted to cite what the 4th District Court had ruled.
Okay.
As far as
You can give us information afterwards. This is, I think, the longest business meeting that we've had.
Right, and I haven't had my say yet.
I know. And I just want to make sure, anyone on the telephone, anyone online? I think I hear someone on the telephone. Anybody on the telephone that has public comment, please? Okay, I don't hear them, so.
I know this stirs a lot of emotion in people. I know people are waving the Fourth Amendment around, even though it's been decided all over the country. Fourth Amendment is not being violated. There's, it's not,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Or, listen, take it to court then.
Okay, hold on,
Take
please.
it to court and have it go after them. Don't come in here and raise hell and stand up 3 and 4 times saying the same thing. Go to the courts.
Okay, folks, I'm going to have to shut this down. So,
Okay, and I'm going to say very quickly that, like I say, 6 years, Leslie and I have worked together, and we have agreed on 98%.
90.
Oh, more than,
Well, then
it's
you
more
voted
than
with
that.
98%, and we've disagreed on 2%, in my opinion, and it's been fine. And I'm retiring. I'm done. That's the way I feel. Boy, it's a two-way street, baby. I don't need this kind of nonsense. Anyway, we'll get through it. We'll get through it. And Bob Norris is an honorable man.
Okay.
And with that, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Jesus.
And I hope everyone enjoys the holiday. Thank you. And Commissioner Duncan.
4:02, meeting adjourned.